This is Unaffected. Welcome to Unaffected, a podcast that offers a curated look at some obscure, forgotten, and neglected singers of the mid-20th century. I'm your host, Ethan Stoller. Sorry this episode's a couple days late. I was all set to record, and they started tearing up the sidewalk outside my window. It was loud. Super loud. So, yeah, better late than never. Welcome to the first ever Unaffected Jukebox episode, where I'm going to play you some 45s from the collection. I love LPs. I love the artwork. Kind of obsessed about the artwork sometimes. I've added over 12,000 images to the Discogs database of pictures, mostly of album covers. So, yeah, that's who you're dealing with here. But I do have a nice collection of 45s, and I am going to dig through some of the better ones for you here today. And we'll see what we turn up. I want to set some rules just mostly for myself to keep it limited to, if there was just the whole world of existing 45s, it would be a bit overwhelming. So the rules are, the artists you'll hear will have never released an LP. These are just singles-only artists. And also they need to physically come from my collection. That's a bit arbitrary. I don't know if I'll stick to that if there's another installment of this Jukebox series, but that's what I'm doing for now. This called to mind, actually, there's this Al Pacino movie from the late 80s called Sea of Love, where it's like a serial killer, something horrible, and they find a bunch of 45s strewn about at the crime scene, and there's one on the turntable. It's Sea of Love, I think. And the detective is like this genius because he's like, this victim couldn't have known the killer because you only bring out your 45s when you don't know someone and you're trying to impress them. And let's listen to the audio, see if you can make sense of what he's saying.
Yeah, but how do you know the trim is strange? Maybe it's a steady.
Strange. You know how I know? Records. 45s. Nobody whips out their old 45s on anything but a first or second date when you're doing the wonder of me thing, Getting to know you. So what do? You take out your old records. Show the broad you kept them after all these years, meaning you're a wonderful, sentimental individual. Now, who does that with somebody they know already? I mean, once you know them, who gives a shit?
I don't know. This is my 17th episode, so I think, you know me pretty well. And I'm just getting out the 45s now, so I think that screenplay is full of shing. Anyway, let's get to some music. God, it's been too long. Okay, first up, we have a Belgian singer named Wilhelmine, who there's so little information about, it's weird. She has a really pretty voice. She released 2 singles. I have one of them in my collection, and the liner notes are odd. It says, a bittersweet 19-year-old ingenue. Her flaws are red nails and smoking too much. But when she smiles, wow! She loves driving fast, really fast, so fast that she's scared of it, especially when she's distracted. There's a bit more. I'll spare you the rest. But check this song out. It's really pretty and cool. It's Wilhelmine, Quand j'aurai.
Quand j'aurai ma maison de campagne, de l'argent à foison, la musique pour compagne, quand j'aurai mes jardins, des jardins pleins de fleurs, des prairies, des terrains, à s'y perdre par bonheur, mes jambes seront trop fatiguées et je ne pourrai plus marcher. Mais j'aurai ma voiture, un chauffeur attitré, des valets en parure pour servir mon café. Quand j'aurai un Chinois, cuisinier diplômé, je verrai devant moi tous les plats raffinés. Je n'aurai plus une seule dent, je n'avalerai que de la purée.
I dig those vocal breaks where the music stops and there's a little vocal. I looked up what the musical term for that is, and I couldn't find anything definitive, like vocal break or césura. But I love when a song does that. So bass clarinet and stop your music and do a little cool musical a cappella phrase. I'm into it. All right, next up, we have kind of a sordid affair a singer named Jenny Barrett, an American singer who seemed to be on the rise. She recorded one single on a small label, then got signed to a bigger label, and then vanished. She was embroiled in a high-profile divorce with a disc jockey, and they got remarried and divorced again. He sounds like a real piece of work, probably violent towards her. And the song I'm going to play is kind of racy. The Billboard review of this song from 1954 says, it's a sexy and suggestive rendition of this evergreen, selling the item via most intimate and cozy rendition, which should get it banned from a few stations with no trouble at all. Suggestive qualities might help it sell. And I think that's pretty accurate. It's funny because here's what the original recording of this song, The Touch of Your Lips, it's called, sounded like in 1936. Written and recorded by Ray Noble.
The touch of your lips upon my brow.
That sounds pretty innocent. Well, Jenny Barrett got a hold of it, and look out, hide the kids. I'll play a little longer stretch of this to the climax of the song and see what you think.
The touch of your hand, the love in your eyes that shine, and now at last that moment divine, the touch of your lips on mine.
Sorry about that distorted quality in the record. I guess somebody played it a lot. Yeah, it's too bad. Jenny Barrett kind of vanished from not just like entertainment circles, but I can't find an obituary or any news story after around this time. I don't know if it was because her ex-husband was powerful and got her out of the music industry, or if, I don't know, this song maybe got people mad. But if anyone knows, Jenny Barrett, what happened? Where are you? We miss you. You were a good singer. And speaking of good singers, let's go right to Kitty Lanier from the Pittsburgh area. This is I Still Walk Alone from 1958.
I get the blues every time I hear your name. Without your love, I'll never know, never be the same. That's why I still walk alone. That's why I still walk alone.
That's Kitty Lanier. She was black, and there's a really poignant paragraph in an article about her in the Pittsburgh Courier in June of 1962, talking about her successes. She was a songwriter. She published a few songs. She studied music theory extensively, it says, and she's an accomplished vocalist who still studies voice. She's appeared on a couple of national TV shows and played the nation's top supper clubs. But there's this quote at the very end of the paragraph. She says, "I want to go to Paris and make it big. Then perhaps I'll get a better break here." It's just like a dagger. And it's what sucks is that it's so relatable still today in this country. But Kitty Lanier, she persevered. She shows up in Ontario quite a bit later in the 60s as a featured performer at clubs. And later in life, I see she moved back to the Pittsburgh area and raised a family. And speaking of families, our next artist comes from a very famous one, Betty Clooney, sister of Rosemary, aunt of George. was a really good singer in her own right, and perhaps most fortuitously of all, she starts this song with a bass clarinet, warming the cockles of my heart. This is Just to Belong to You, Betty Clooney.
Once I dreamt of summers up in Newport by the sea, winters in Havana mingling with society. But now I'd live in Coney Island, happy as can be, just to belong to you. Used to spend my money like there was no income tax. Had a charge account at Hattie Carnegie and Saks. But now I'd shop at Macy's and I'd walk around in slacks just to belong to you. Rich or poor.
I like how the epitome of non-wealth and mundanity is living in Brooklyn and shopping at Macy's wearing slacks. Times have changed. Yes, I think she actually sounds a lot like Rosemary Clooney to me, but Billboard magazine didn't agree. They favored Betty Clooney much more than her sister. Check this review out. This is a review of a live performance, April of 1954. Betty Clooney, a much more vibrant and projecting personality than her sister, Rosemary, opened here to an audience that fell immediately to her contagious charm. Her voice is warm, even though it has a taste of her sister's styling, but that's where the resemblance ends. Betty projects, she's dynamic in action and displays plenty of know-how in singing and plain talking to customers. Tell us how you really feel, Billboard. And that review was of a performance at a club called the Black Orchid, which was at Rush and Ontario Street, right down here in Chicago. And I got to say, one of the fun things about doing this podcast is looking at all these old reviews and newspapers and trade magazines and how much Chicago was a vibrant part of the entertainment scene back in the day. And the next record we have has a Chicago address that I know very well. I'll get to that in a second. But this is a song called Sinner and Saint, and the singer is Nina Gaylo, a Chicago singer. And so what I love about this arrangement, it starts out kind of like in the style maybe of like Peggy Lee doing Fever. The bass is prominent and like the finger snaps. It feels like a very intimate, small arrangement. And then there's this point where just this entire 18-piece band slams in and smacks you in the face. It's a great effect. I think it was pioneered by a great arranger named Buster Harding, who... one example, if you want to listen, is a song called Rails that he arranged for Count Basie, where it feels like for a while that it's like a quartet playing, and then maybe, there's a couple trumpets, and then 3 minutes into this song, you're slammed with like this enormous blast of horns, and it's a great effect, specifically for records. I know these bands played live all the time, so you see the band sitting there, and then they lift their instruments to their, it's not quite the effect, but if you're listening at home, just especially on like headphones, it's funny, it's playful, it blows you away, and it's very musical. But yeah, Buster Harding, if you ever see his name as an arranger on any jazz record from like 1939 to 1960, you'll probably think it's cool, because it is. So here we go. This is Sinner and Saint, Nina Gaylo. Check it out.
So darling, forgive me, and you'll be so glad they're gone and forgotten, those faults that I've had, and I'll always love you without a complaint. If you were the sinner and I was the saint.
And just to give credit where credit is due, that arrangement was by Dick Reynolds, great arranger. Another white guy taking a black guy's ideas. Anyway, like I was saying, the record label on this is called Heartbeat, which was founded by a guy named Seymour Schwartz, a Chicago record producer and record store owner. And there was a researcher at Clemson University who published this whole long history of it. It's pretty interesting, and it kind of gave me ideas for another episode of this show, featuring a singer named Lurleen Hunter, who's fantastic. But anyway, like I was saying, the address on Heartbeat Records is 410 South Michigan, which, as you might know, is the Fine Arts Building downtown. And here's a handy tip from a local Chicagoan. If you need a fun place to take a date or to just hang out with a couple friends, every second Friday of every month, the Fine Arts Building opens up its studios, and you can wander around this beautiful old building. And there are scores of tiny studios inside. Artists, artisans, craftspeople. There's like a violin maker in there. There's painters, a lot of visual art, puppeteers. There's an art song studio where they play a piano and sing, and they give you wine for free. Are you kidding me? Anyway, highly recommended. I think it's like 5 to 9 p.m. every second Friday of the month. Fine Arts Building. Check it out. And it's also where Nina Gaylo probably signed the contract for this very record we just heard. Okay, next up, we have a record from Singapore, a singer named Judith Ho, who only ever released 3 singles. I have one of them. There's very little information about her. The record's pretty groovy, and I'm not sure why she didn't hit it bigger, but she does a lot of, and her 3 singles are all EPs. She does covers of American songs. And on this one, the title track is Unchain My Heart, which she does a pretty good version of, but it's just not as good as the Ray Charles original. So go listen to Ray Charles' Unchain My Heart, imagine it sung in Chinese, and a little less good, and that's what you have. But she also does Hanky Panky, a cover on the same EP. And this next track feels like a combination of the 2 songs. It's got like a minor key groove like Unchain My Heart, and the beat feels like Hanky Panky. It's a little weird. It doesn't really seem to have much structure to it. It just feels like the same verse repeated over and over. I might just fade it out. We'll see how it feels. It also doesn't have a parenthetical English title, but Google tells me it's pronounced Wen Ding Tsing, and it means kiss to make love. Anyway, it's pretty groovy. It's from 1967, Judith Ho. Let's have a listen.
忘不了这一吻，忘不了你的情，这一吻我动了情，就好像和你定了情。忘不了这一吻，忘不了你的情，吻一吻我动了情，就好像和你生了根。我若是没有他，向谁说温存？我若是没有他，向谁诉苦闷？忘不了这一吻，忘不了你的情，这一吻我动了情，就好像和你定了情。
Yeah, it's groovy, but not too dynamic. I'm pretty sure Buster Harding did not arrange that recording. So yeah, let's leave it there for today. This was really fun. I got tons and tons more. Let's do another Jukebox episode sometime soon. Thank you so much. Please, if you get a chance, rate, review, share, tweet, or don't tweet. Screw that guy. Spread the word. Special thanks to my friend Alex Hardaway, who left me a beautiful review on Apple Podcasts. Thanks, Alex. If you want to hear some cool music, check out Alex Hardaway's series on YouTube, where he does Just the Chorus, it's called. And he picks some of his favorite songs, and it's really cool. There's this video of all playing all these instruments. He's super talented. He's also an actor I've collaborated with before, too. So thanks, Alex. This is not a quid pro quo, by the way. You're not going to get shout out if you leave me a review, unless, you deserve it. All right. Thanks so much. And hopefully next time I won't be so late with the episode. You guys are the best. This is Unaffected. See you next time.
This has been an Ambivert Media production.